Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is Weeknights. I am JD, aka He Who Pods.
And I'm Dash, aka Dashing D, aka the real king of R&B. What it is, yo? What's up?
I did not expect that. Oh, snap.
Oh yeah.
That was good. That was good.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. So, a while ago, a couple weeks ago, um, someone I'm a big fan of, one of my rap inspirations, motivators, an icon in hip hop, released a project, and that is Rakim. Rakim dropped a project called the God Network, the Rebirth.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's like a compilation project, and it was all produced by Rakim. And he had a lot of different people up there. And I guess we should start with. Should we start with the RIP? Yeah. So Tino XL was one of the people on the project,
Yep.
and it appears they've had a long-standing relationship, which makes sense. They came out not too far behind each other. Um, and so Chino XL is on the project, and so we'd like to take this moment to just say RIP to Chino XL. I've only ever heard nice things about Chino XL. It seems he was loved by the industry at large. Uh, so, I thought it was a good time to come up here and say it. Chino XL passed a couple of days ago. Since he's on this project, I feel like it makes sense to say RIP to Chino XL.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Rest in peace. And prayers to his family.
all right. And thank you for your contributions as well. I feel like we don't say that a lot. And I feel like we should.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So well,
But go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say it's always sad to lose people who have made contributions to the culture and who have been important and impactful in that way. So, um, definitely a loss. Um, but yeah, um, sorry to hear that.
Yeah. But was on the album. He did a good job on the album. Let's talk about the album. What's interesting is
Hmm.
a lot of people don't know the capabilities of Rakim when it comes to yawning. No, I'm just kidding. When it comes to production, there are a lot of records that because many years ago he was with Eric B, people assumed that Eric B was the person doing a lot of the production. And so if you're a Rakim fan, you know that Rakim actually can produce. And so I thought it was interesting to hear Rakim still be able to produce.
Hmm.
And I wasn't shocked that he could still spit. Uh, I mean, he's inspired so many of us that it's nice to hear him, but it wasn't shocking. But it was interesting to hear what Rakim's production sounds like in 2024,
Yeah.
because you would think this older guy, this guy who you know came out in the late 80s,
Hmm.
would be dropping some super old school sounding beats, but they didn't sound that way.
No.
So I thought that's the first thing I wanted to highlight. Um, that he did a good job with the production.
Hmm.
Um, and I think that this is a good way to highlight his production because when the promotion of this album was going on, they made sure to let it be known that all the tracks were produced by Rakim himself.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really dope because it's a lot of people don't know it. It's not what he's known for. He's known as like this top level wordsmith. This person who is a conscious rapper who inspired many, yes, but not as like a dope producer. So I thought
Is
that
it
was a great.
something? Sorry.
No, go.
I was gonna say, and it's something he's really proud of too. I was reading an interview he did with Rolling Stone, And he talked about how, yeah, people don't, that's not necessarily what people think of him. When they think of him, that's not necessarily what they think of.
Right.
Hmm.
Big yawn.
That's not necessarily what they think of, but it's something that he really enjoys doing. So I thought it was cool to, you kind of get to live out both sides of your interests there, and I
Yeah.
thought that was really cool. You know,
Yeah, I think it's great it's being highlighted. He's been doing it. It just people didn't. It's again,
yeah,
it's not what he's highlighted for. It's not what people think of when you mention Rakim. But he did speak about it on. Man, was it the 18th letter or the R? One of his older albums. He speaks about it, and he says like, I did production, and a lot of people thought it was Eric B who was doing it.
yeah.
So
Oh yeah, he did say that.
yeah, he said it's on one of the older albums. I can't remember which one it is, if it's the R or the 18th letter. But anyway, he does speak about it. He has spoken about it before. So I just thought that was really cool.
Hmm.
Um, as far as the features, I thought this was such an interesting feature list. I'm not going to read all of the features. Y'all could go look it up. But I didn't know who would be featured on this project when you just hear that a project is coming out. And yeah, the single was him and Master Killer, I think it was. I know it was a Wu-Tang member. I want to make sure I'm saying the right one. Um, yeah, Master Killer. And so that was cool. You know what I'm saying? That kind of made sense. You're like, oh, okay, Rakim, Master Killer. All right, I could see that. But then some of the other features, you're like, oh, okay, this is an interesting feature list. So I thought it was really cool to see people of different well, how I word this. I thought it was cool to see people from different eras of hip hop
Hmm.
rap with Rakim, because I'm sure there are some people who would have loved to do it, and then there were probably other people who were just like, "Oh, this is a cool opportunity. I'm down for this." And it was a wide range of
It was.
artists. Everyone was not an old school boom bap hip hop artist, and so that was cool to see these people come together. And it's interesting that like every track is basically a posse cut, um a whole album of posse cuts. It was really interesting to hear that, because you expect that from like a DJ Khaled, or maybe
Yeah,
DJ K Play, one of these like a DJ who's known for compiling these type of compilation albums, right? I don't think you really expect that from Rakim. So I thought that was really cool that it's like basically an album of posse cuts.
let me tell you something. I turned it on and I started listening, and I thought, oh, this is cool. Like, I'm bopping my head and I'm enjoying it, and I'm listening, and I'm like, oh, this is good. Like, just. And then I heard cannabis.
Okay. Uh-huh.
And I immediately perked up because I recognized the voice immediately. Okay. You know, I know I come on here a lot of times. I know some of y'all probably think I'm a fraud because I'm like, oh, I never listened to this person's albums or, whatever. But when I tell you that I heard cannabis and I said, oh, is that cannabis?
It sure was.
My heart. Because let me tell you something. Okay. The youth inside me was like, oh my gosh, where has cannabis been? Like I didn't know I missed him until I heard his voice. Cannabis is dope and continues to be dope. Like he killed it. I now want to go listen to cannabis. Like I loved cannabis in the days of yesteryear, and just hearing his voice and hearing him do what he does best reignited something in me, like that excitement that I had for him when I first heard him.
Right.
Man, I was like, oh, I'm done. Like, I don't even need to listen to anything else. I could just listen to this one track and I'm good. And that's not to say that nothing else on the album was great. I know you were talking and I'll throw it back to you in a second, but
So good.
it's there were so many features that were so important, I think. Um like even the fact that there are so many I always I always flub this word, but so many posthumous features
Posthumous,
on
yeah.
the album. On the album,
Yeah.
um, I mean, you had Nipsey Hussle. Of course, I'm gonna start drawing a blank now that I don't have it in front of me.
You don't need to say the whole list.
But there were a bunch. DMX. There were a bunch on there. Um, Method Man is on there. There's just so like the features are I like you said they're all posse cuts. I love that. I thought I was like, oh, okay, so you were just like hanging out with the guys
Right.
and made an album. This is cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was dope, but I just had to jump in and because I am still so excited about hearing Cannabis. I was like, "Oh my gosh, why don't I listen to Cannabis now?" Like I just didn't understand. I was like, "How could I even?" Because again, his like just to the moment he started, I was like, "Oh, like a jolt." Remembering that sound, and he is still just as talented as he was. Um, I just thought that was cool, and I'm
Yeah, it
excited.
was nice to see Cannabis kind of I don't want to say save himself, but kind of show that he can still do it because maybe you don't know based on what you said, but Cannabis was doing some rap battles for a while that were horrible. And yeah, he like entered battle leagues, forgot his rhymes, was trying to read from a notebook. There was this whole thing. And so it was nice to be able to see him kind of revive his career, kind of show that hey, I can still do this at a high level. Um, and so I was happy to hear that. Because I'll be honest, when I heard Cannabis, I was a little nervous. I was like, oh, all right, what's about to happen here?
Yeah.
But Cannabis came through and put his foot in that ass.
He did.
Um,
And I didn't know about the rap battles. Um,
oh yeah, it was a while back, but yeah, it seemed like a money grab. It seemed like I'm gonna just take this cash and I'm not gonna put any effort forward. Uh, which was bad. I think it was 2 battles or 3 battles. Whatever. Um, yeah, and it was great to hear Rakim spit after all these years. The last time most of us heard him was on the Truth Hurts joint all those years ago when we were teenagers. And so, because that was what, 2000, I want to say? Um, maybe something like that. But anyway, all those years ago, we heard him, do his verse, and then there was that rumor of a Dr. Dre produced album coming, and that never happened. So it's great to hear him spit. He was on every track, which I think is great. But I also think it was great that he let everybody get their shine on every song. He pretty much spit a 16 like everybody else, or a verse like everybody else. He didn't do like what some artists do, where you have a 16, but then I have like 80 bars right after. Um, so I thought that was cool because it seemed like I'm a part of this. I'm not trying to outshine anybody.
yeah.
But also he didn't come through and give us whack rhymes. Like he came through and did what he needed to do on every track. And I think it was a cool way to show that like, yo, I could still rap with top tier MCs.
Yeah, it was great. It was great. I was pleased.
And to call back to our last review, where Common and Pete Rock decided to give us a little too much. Rakim kept it short and sweet.
Oh, love that. Love that. I love that it was very easy to get through.
This thing is like 32 minutes.
And
And
it's
as soon as it goes off, you're like, oh, I should listen to this again.
because it's 32 minutes of great hip hop.
Exactly.
And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with a good half hour of great music.
Yeah, it wasn't overkill. At no point did I feel like, oh man, what's next? Because this is taking long. Or man, is this over? How many tracks do we have left? In fact, I had already looked at the track list and knew Method Man was on the last song on the project. So when I heard Method Man, I was like, oh no, it's over. This is it. Oh man, I might have to run this back right now.
Yeah, no. And it is good enough to run it back.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
enjoyed it.
what was the last part?
Oh, I said yeah, I enjoyed it.
Oh yeah, I mean, I was very pleased, and I would totally listen to whatever's coming next. Not to say that he's announced that everything is coming next, but if Rakim announced, "Hey, the Rebirth Volume 2," I'm in there.
He said, shoot, now I can't remember. I knew I should have wrote it down. He said what's coming next. Let me see if I can find it real quick. But he did. There's another album coming.
Yeah.
There's another album coming, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see if Rolling Stone will let me pull it up, or if they're gonna tell me that I need
Oh yeah, because you know all these websites are weird now.
everything's behind a paywall.
Paywall, or you got to sign up to do an account, even if it's a free one.
I look at them blurring it out. Get the Rolling Stone newsletter. No. It's like I know where to find you when I need you. I don't need to subscribe to the newsletter.
Right. Plus, we're
But
not reading Rolling Stone that often.
right, towards the bottom of the article I read. And okay, so while I'm looking for this, I just something that I thought was really interesting was he explains why he called it the rebirth. He said that he he had some struggles during COVID. He also acknowledges that everybody had struggles, but he said he caught COVID 4 times,
Wow.
and he he was like, he thought he was fine, but when he went back to the studio and tried to make music, he realized he wasn't fine. Like he was having a lot of brain fog, and he said the words normally would come naturally to him, and that wasn't happening. Um,
Mm,
so he said it is, in a sense, a rebirth for him because there was that period where he was wanting to make music but really couldn't. Um, and he kind of had to like work through that period where he wasn't well.
right.
Um, and he said, and he basically said, we can all understand that, right? Like we all went through a lot in 2020. Um, and, you know, a lot of bad things happened, and it's just kind of him making a nod to that, like that, he had to kind of start over in a way, I guess, start
That's
anew in a sense. um so I thought that was pretty cool that he shared that. I think we
yeah,
can all I think we can all understand a little bit of that,
absolutely.
given what we've all been through.
Right.
uh,
And I'm glad he was able to make it to the other side.
Yeah, because a lot of people didn't, and it's a beautiful thing that he did, and he's still able to share his talents with us.
Right.
Um, I appreciate that. Okay, so I'm pretty sure towards the end he says, um, He also, it's a really good article. He talks about like being approached by Jay-Z's people to sign a new record deal some years back and how that fell through. Um, and also it's been 15 years since he released his last project.
Pretty sure it was longer than that. That's why I was trying to say, like,
This
he was
says
supposed to. It says when?
2009.
Must have missed that one. Might have more music to go listen to.
Yeah. Um, Man, I can't find it, but I'm pretty sure some. Excuse me. I'm pretty sure somewhere in the article he says what he's gonna work on next. Um, so y'all could go. I'm sorry, y'all could go and find that. I think it's a great article.
Oh yes, the Seven Seal. I
Yeah,
totally forgot about this project. Shame on me. Yes, 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 yes. You are
yeah.
correct. Good job.
Thanks. Yeah. So it was cool.
Can't find it.
Oh, this is what it was. He's working on a project with Jazzy Jeff.
Oh, okay.
hmm He said, they asked him, I saw you're working on a solo album. What can you say about that? He said, well, that's one of the songs where the rebirth came from. I got a project I'm working on with Jazzy Jeff. It might be like 5 songs deep, but that's the project I'm putting my all into. We've got some other heavyweights that's going to be on the album producer wise.
That's dope.
Yeah.
All right, Rakim cranking it out.
Yeah.
That's exciting stuff.
Yeah. I was like, oh, so we're not done here. What? I did not mean to close
Awesome.
my laptop.
I'm about to say, don't you need that for our next topic?
I do need it for our next topic. Um, But yeah, so I think that's dope that he's, back
Yeah,
on the
Rakim
scene
is locked in.
doing this thing. Yeah. Yeah.
What new artists would you like to hear with Rakim? I have
Rakim.
I have three that immediately come to mind.
Oof. New artists.
New in the sense that Rakim's been out since '88. Like,
Right.
who haven't you heard Rakim with that you would like to hear with Rakim? That's the way I would say it.
I have to think about
Easy for me. Cole, Kendrick, and then a not so new artist. I would love to hear Rakim and LL together. LL is working on new music. Rakim is working on new music.
that.
I don't think they've ever worked together. I could hear them killing a ladies track, but Passion was great. You hear LL getting in his MC bag and having a cool song with Rakim.
Yeah, I can see that. Man, I don't know.
And I would love to hear Rakim and Nas, but I have a feeling that's not happening.
Why?
Years ago, uh, years ago, Nas did the unauthorized biography of Rakim. It's a song, and I read something that said that um, Rakim was upset that Nas mentioned Kim has a daughter, and I think he said her real name on the record. Um, and
Okay.
so Rakim was not pleased about that. That's what I read. So I don't know if they're on good terms.
Hmm.
But those are three. Those are, I mean, four artists I would love to hear work with Rakim. I feel like Cole looks up to Rakim the same way I do.
Mm-hmm.
He mentioned him on January 28th. They have the same birthday, January 28th. So I think it would be awesome to hear them two together, and then Kendrick too. Like,
Yeah, that would be good. I don't have 3 picks because everybody I keep thinking of he's already worked with.
yeah, so good.
um, I'll think about that and maybe I'll circle back.
All right. Well, that's our review. Now we have something else for you.
Am I the asshole? Am I the asshole for breaking up with my boyfriend because he constantly finishes inside of me?
This is a wild title. Let me
Long
just let
story.
me just break the fourth wall real quick.
Mhm.
You sent me a screenshot of this the other day, and I was like, one of these days
We're
when
gonna.
we've got to do that one.
Yeah,
You was like, I didn't read it, but I just wanted to share that title with you, and I was like, we got to do it.
yeah, yeah. I didn't read. I haven't read it. I only know the title.
The title. All right,
Um,
let's do it.
but yeah, I figured this one would be an interesting one. Long story short, we dated for 6 months and I decided to go on birth control pills. After a few months, I started noticing I was gaining weight and my pH balance was extremely off. I
Mm.
absolutely hated it, so I decided to get off of it and I told my boyfriend about it and he agreed to pull out from now on.
Okay.
Anyways, we started having sex and he ends up finishing inside of me. This seriously angered me because I hate taking Plan B and after a while it starts getting expensive. I mean, girl, it was $50. Never mind. None. Anyway, yeah, I'm just saying it's always expensive. It's not expensive after a few of them. It's expensive on the first one.
Well, it is cheaper than the alternative.
Sure, but it's not. Anyway, it's an expensive habit to have. I think. I don't think
Unless you know about the cheaper options.
it still shouldn't be something that's happening often. Like it shouldn't be a
Well,
common thing
I was
that
gonna say, cost aside, it's not something you should be doing every 2 weeks
right.
because your body is gonna be jacked up.
Right. Anyway, he apologized to me and tells me he will get me a plan B in the morning and that he totally forgot to pull out because he's used to finishing inside of me. So I decided to let it go and not start a fight. Then a week later, we got drunk and had sex, and he finished inside of me again and just tries to play it off like it wasn't a big deal, saying, "Oops, I forgot. I'll give you the money to get plan B in the morning."
That's fucked up.
A week later. And honestly, it's just principles, and I feel disrespected because I specifically told him not to do something, and he still did it. It was a hard decision to. It was a hard decision, but I decided to end the relationship because I'm not interested in having kids at the moment. He keeps texting me, making me feel guilty, saying I never loved him and I used him, and I'm trying to break up with him for something that's not even serious. So I decided to ask, am I the asshole for breaking up with him over that? Um, and then there's a response. I guess a lot of people responded, and there's also a response. I can read that
She
if
responded.
yeah, she responded to comments. The response is first things first, I'm not pregnant, nor with him anymore. I've been single for over 2 months already. Also, I don't have any STI or STD for those of you who are concerned. With that being said, I forgot to mention the man is over 17 years older than me, so not to play victim, but he definitely knew how to manipulate me. LOL. Those of you in the comments that are pissed off over me loving someone I was in a relationship with for 6 months are idiots. I'm obvious. I've obviously known him for years before dating him, so please go touch some grass and don't be so idiotic thinking people just start dating right after meeting. So there is no update, so stay safe. Okay, I guess she was upset.
And those comments must have been crazy.
Yeah, like I see the first oh, she had said something else too. She said um also I need to figure out what a condom is. Huh. It was a joke cuz the one of the first comments is but have either of you heard of condoms?
Um, yeah.
Yeah. Um no. No. No.
Know what?
Cuz there's something pretty disrespectful about disregarding that request.
Absolutely.
I absolutely, I absolutely would never have sex with that person again. Um, that is a safety issue as far as I'm concerned. Like at the point where we're having this is a conversation about consent.
Yes.
Like, and I don't know if people just don't realize that yes, she agreed to have sex with you, but she did not agree to do that, which means that you were violating that that you are violating the fact that she did not consent to that.
Right.
And that is
And
not
it's
okay.
not like it wasn't discussed, because it was
Right.
multiple
And
times.
multiple times. This is an issue because yes, you can spread diseases this way. This is an issue because I mean, I don't even I don't know. I understand people telling them about condoms, and that's a fair point to make. But I also feel like this sounds like the type of person that even when a condom is in the room, you got to be worried that they're going to take it off or something like that in the middle of it, and it's just not okay. It's not okay. I don't like it.
Yeah, me either. You already touched on the consent part. I totally agree.
And
I
pregnant.
also just
I didn't say
what?
pregnant. I said in pregnancy. I didn't say pregnancy, but
Oh, that's
that
where I was heading. Yeah, it seems really interesting to me that this man is not concerned with her being pregnant, and yeah, he keeps saying, "I'll give you the money for the plan B," but it doesn't really work that way. And a week later, you're putting a lot at risk. It's really cavalier to be doing that um, back to back like that. It also shows me that, excuse me, it also shows me that you don't have a high level of concern for that woman, um, because yes, these things are helpful, but it's called emergency contraceptive for a reason. You can't be popping them like M&Ms. It does affect the woman's body on many levels, especially when it's time for her to try to reproduce. If
Yep.
years later they wanted to have a kid, or even a couple months later they wanted to have a kid, she could have difficulty bearing children if you continue to do this. So I am a Plan B advocate, but also it's just really weird that you don't give a fuck. I have been in a position where someone was on birth control and stopped taking birth control. It absolutely is there absolutely is a transitional time where things do get a little weird, especially if you're used to doing certain things. Um, but you have to also be a responsible adult, and you have to respect the wishes of the person you're with. If this person is saying, "Hey, I'm uncomfortable with XYZ, we shouldn't be doing XYZ," and you guys have had a discussion about it, I don't see what more there is to really discuss. Especially when it is your significant other, you should care about this person enough to say, I don't want you to feel uncomfortable. I don't want you to have to
Right.
keep feeling sick, because Plan B pills don't make you feel like sunflowers and roses, by the way.
They're also not
So
100% effective, and like throwing a Plan B pill at her every time you make a mistake. What is that?
right, and it's never a mistake.
Childish as fuck.
Yeah, it's never a mistake. Let me be clear. You know when you're about to release, and if the agreement is that you're going to pull out, well then you should pull out. So
Yeah.
I wish he was more respectful, because it sounds like this is something that could have been avoided.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he seems inconsiderate. Um, the 17-year thing doesn't really change anything for me, because we don't know their age. But even if we did, it's just about being inconsiderate and not caring, and being cavalier. It's not necessarily about age. Age doesn't change anything for me, because it's about mentality and maturity. But no, I don't think she's an asshole. Um, I don't think she's an asshole.
No, he's the asshole.
Yeah.
And as far as I'm concerned, she did the right thing. Break up with him.
Maybe be careful who you have unprotected sex with, because y'all were together 6 months, and that's not a long time. And if you were friends for years first, that's cool. But once he keeps doing it, after the first or second time, it's probably a good idea to put condoms on or take a break from having sex, maybe.
Right. Well, she took a break from him completely, so
That's true.
that's a good thing. But yeah, I don't like it.
Me either.
Well, that's all we got for y'all.
I hope you liked it, listeners and viewers. It being this pod. And if you didn't, sorry. We'll be back tomorrow with more dumb.
Yep.
Adios.
Bye.